Welcome to Book Reviews, where we explore the best books across every genre. I'm Joanna McCann. I'm joined as always by Gerald LeBlanc. Don't forget to grab your free copy of the audiobook using the link in the description below. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Are you ready to take a deep dive with us into some spooky tales? You know, it's the perfect time of year for it with Halloween right around the corner.
Definitely. We've got a great selection of chilling reads to explore.
Ooh, I love it already.
We'll be looking at everything from some of those classic authors, like Hitchcock, even Lovecraft.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll be digging into some lesser-known contemporary writers, too, who are really keeping that spooky tale tradition alive.
You know, speaking of traditions, I have to confess, my love for spooky stories goes, like, way back.
Oh.
I mean, as a kid, I was totally obsessed with those Alfred Hitchcock anthologies,
Yeah.
Like Haunted Household, Ghostly Gallery, Witch's Brew. I just devoured them all.
Those were fantastic. They were like a real gateway into the genre, a real mix of everything.
They really were.
You had those lighthearted tales with a touch of the strange, and then there were the ones with those surprise endings that kind of left you thinking, what just happened? And then, of course, there were, like, the truly chilling nightmares.
Oh, for sure. And you know, it's funny. Some of the specific titles and authors still stick with me all these years later.
Really?
God, like, there's this one, Jimmy Takes Vanishing Lessons by Walter R. Brooks, about a boy who learns how to disappear.
Wow.
Yeah, it's such a cool concept. Talk about a handy skill.
Yeah.
And then there's The King of the Cats by Stephen Vincent Benet. I don't know why, but that one still kind of sends shivers down my spine.
Yeah, those anthologies are a great example of just how diverse the world of spooky tales can really be. But sometimes you want to go a little bit beyond those, like, cozy shivers and really delve into something a little more intense.
That's what I was thinking too.
Oh.
Which brings me to my next spooky story obsession.
Okay.
The one that really kind of cemented my love for the genre. I was in junior high, and I stumbled upon this, like, treasure trove of classic horror anthologies at a thrift store.
Oh, nice.
It's like finding buried treasure.
Oh, the thrill of the unexpected find. That's awesome. What did you unearth in that collection?
Okay, so that's where I discovered, like, the masters like W.W. Jacobs, Algernon Blackwood, W.F. Harvey.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the king of cosmic horror himself,
Woo.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Lovecraft. Oh, yeah. Now you're talking. Those are the ones that, like, really stick with you. They tap into something deeper, something primal, something that speaks to our fascination with the unknown, like The Monkey's Paw, The Wendigo, August Heat.
Oh, I know. And Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror, for instance.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece of cosmic horror. The way he blends folklore, science, and these, like, otherworldly creatures, it's amazing. And you know what blows my mind?
What?
How these stories written decades ago, they still manage to evoke, like, such a strong sense of dread and wonder.
It really speaks to the timeless appeal of a well-crafted, spooky story, doesn't it? And it's not just the classics that hold this power either. There are plenty of contemporary authors and publishers out there who are really keeping the spirit of the spooky tale alive.
Oh, absolutely.
And, just like in those classic anthologies you mentioned, there's a whole spectrum of horror out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Everything from those subtle psychological chills to those more, like, in-your-face, pulpy thrills.
Yeah.
But for this particular deep dive, we're leaning towards towards the subtler side.
Okay.
Think like unsettling atmospheres and creeping dread.
Yeah.
Not so much like jump scares and gore.
Oh, perfect for those long, dark autumn nights. So, shall we start with William Hope Hodgson?
Yes, let's.
A writer who I think rivals even Lovecraft when it comes to conjuring up those monstrous entities lurking in the depths of the sea or, breaking through from other dimensions.
Absolutely. Hodgson's work, it's brimming with that cosmic dread, especially those seafaring tales,
Yeah.
They have this unique ability to make you feel like utterly insignificant in the face of these vast, unknowable forces.
Yeah. His story, The Voice in the Night, is like a perfect example of this. It starts with a becalmed ship on a starless night in the Pacific. And suddenly, this voice calls out from the darkness.
And begs for food.
Yeah.
But refuses to come closer.
I know. Talk about creepy.
So creepy.
The unseen man, he explains that he and his fiancée were shipwrecked and found refuge on this nearby island. But as he describes the island, this chilling picture starts to emerge.
Much of it is covered in this like unsettling gray lichenous fungus, which seems to be transforming everything it touches.
Hodgson is so good at like building that suspense and creating that atmosphere of like creeping unease.
Yeah.
You know something's terribly wrong, but you're not quite sure what until bam, he just hits you with the full horror of the situation.
The Voice in the Night is like a prime example of what makes Hodgson so masterful. You know, he blends horror and pathos so effectively. And that's just one of his short stories.
Yeah.
He also wrote some like incredibly ambitious novels too.
Oh, yes. Like The House on the Borderland. You've got The Ghost Pirates, The Boats of the Glencarrig.
Yes.
Each one is a journey into these terrifying and often cosmic landscapes.
And then there's, of course, his most ambitious work, The Nightland. I'll be honest, it's a dense and challenging read.
It is.
But so worth it for those fans of like visionary over-the-top tales.
It takes place in this far future Earth, like desolate wasteland.
Right.
Where humanity is just clinging to survival in this structure called the Last Redoubt. But they're constantly menaced by these creatures that would give even Lovecraft's Cthulhu nightmares.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Nightland is a truly epic tale of survival against impossible odds, set against a backdrop of cosmic horror that's both terrifying and strangely beautiful.
And, you know, speaking of Hodgson's legacy, there's this fantastic anthology out there called Where the Silent Ones Watch.
Oh yeah, I love that.
That features all these contemporary authors paying tribute to his work.
It's amazing to see how his ideas continue to inspire and influence modern horror writers.
There are some really standout tales in that collection. You've got The Events at Apoka Station by Pete Rawlik and Salciano. It's a really gripping read.
Oh, yeah.
It features this train passenger who gets stranded overnight in a deserted town.
And encounters a, like, snuffling, multi-legged creature
Yeah.
that lures her to an abandoned quarry, which turns out to be not so abandoned after all.
Exactly. And then there's Nancy Holder's The Captain's Wife, where the narrator becomes increasingly obsessed with this cabin boy whose eyes hold a disturbing secret.
Right, right. And we can't forget Michael Sisko's Night Hearing,
Yes.
which is a stylistic homage to the Nightland.
It really delves into those themes of spiritual extinction and the dangers lurking within this place called the House of Silence. A very haunting and thought-provoking piece.
What I love about this collection is how it shows the breadth of Hodgson's influence.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
each author takes his ideas in these new and surprising directions.
Yeah.
It really demonstrates how his work continues to resonate with readers and writers alike.
It really is a testament to the power of his vision. But for now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about another underappreciated horror writer who deserves a place in the Spooky Tale Hall of Fame, Carl Jacobi. Jacobi really had a gift for crafting these unsettling atmospheres. His collection, Revelations in Black, is a perfect example of this. Each story is like stepping into this nightmare world where, you know, the familiar becomes subtly distorted and just menacing.
Oh, I know, right? His story mice is like a great example of that.
Yeah.
The way he describes this like fetid marshland is just
Yeah.
masterful. It's like beautiful in a way, but also incredibly creepy.
It's that juxtaposition that makes his work so effective. Like he draws you in with these vivid descriptions of nature and then slowly reveals this darkness that's lurking beneath the surface.
Like he's saying that even the most like seemingly innocent and beautiful things can harbor something sinister.
Exactly. He writes about the marsh. Let me see. He says, great masses of vines with fat creeping tendrils hung from the cypress trees, razor-edged reeds, marsh grass, long waving cattails, swamp vegetation of 1,000 kinds flourished here with luxurious abundance. I went on along the shore. The water lapped steadily the sodden earth at my feet. Oily-looking water, grim-looking, reflecting a sullen and overcast sky.
It's chilling, isn't it? You can practically feel the oppressive humidity, smell the decay, and sense the lurking danger. I think the way he uses language to create that atmosphere is what really sets Jacobi apart.
And speaking of unsettling atmospheres, we have to talk about doomed romances, strange tales of uncanny love.
Oh, yes.
This anthology explores the darker side of relationships, like the kind of love that consumes and destroys.
Ooh, that one's a real page-turner.
Yeah.
What I love about it is that the diverse range of authors and perspectives, you know? We've got classics like Mary Shelley. You've got J. Sheridan Le Fondu's Carmilla, which some argue is even more chilling and psychologically complex than Dracula.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then you have some modern voices like Angela Carter and Nalo Hopkinson, all offering their unique takes on the theme of, like, doomed romance.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that these, like, dark, obsessive desires have fascinated us for centuries.
It's true.
There's a real gem in there by Marjorie Bowen called One Remained Behind. It's a story that really showcases her unique style, this blend of horror, eroticism, and this strange kind of pity.
Bowen was a master at subverting expectations, you know?
Huh.
In this story, you have this arrogant poet who dabbles in the black arts, the classic recipe for disaster.
Oh, yeah?
So he gets his hands on this grimoire, an ancient book of magic with the intention of becoming rich and famous.
Of course.
And of course, he summons Lucifer himself. But instead of this terrifying demon, this beautiful young boy appears and asks the poet what he desires.
That is wild.
I know. It's like classic Bowen. Her ability to just make the reader uneasy, even in the midst of beauty.
Yeah.
You know something terrible is going to happen, but you're just drawn in by that strange allure of the situation.
Speaking of unsettling beauty and unexpected twists, let's talk about Arthur Machen, a master of late 19th century horror.
Oh, yes.
His work is often described as like weird fiction, a genre that blends elements of horror, fantasy, and the supernatural in a way that defies easy categorization.
Totally.
His World War I era novel, The Terror, is a great example of this. It's like part thriller, part detective fiction, part supernatural horror. It starts with a seemingly ordinary event, a plane crash.
Yeah.
But then we have this eerie detail. A young boy is found dead with a moth on his forehead.
Oh, wow.
It's this haunting image that immediately sets the tone for the rest of the novel.
For sure.
And as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that something sinister is at play, something that defies rational explanation.
What's so fascinating about The Terror is how Machen just weaves together all these different genres,
Yeah.
You've got the suspense of a thriller, you've got that puzzle-solving element of a detective story, and the creeping dread of supernatural horror.
It's a unique blend that creates a truly immersive and unsettling reading experience. And it's a reminder that sometimes the most frightening things are the ones that we just can't explain.
Now, for our final stop on this deep dive into spooky tales, let's talk about Mark Valentine, a contemporary author who is known for his atmospheric borderland tales.
Borderland tales. That sounds intriguing. What exactly are those?
They're stories that exist in this liminal space between the known and the unknown, the real and the imagined. They often deal with themes of folklore, history, and the occult, and they're just full of subtle chills and a sense of creeping unease.
So not your typical in-your-face horror then.
Exactly. It's more about atmosphere and suggestion,
Right.
It's the kind of horror that stays with you long after you finish reading because it just makes you question what's real and what's not.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. His collection, Lost Estates, is a great place to start if you want to experience his unique brand of horror. One story in particular, the seventh card, really stuck with me. It's about this unsettling series of mysterious Christmas greetings from an unknown sender.
Oh, wow.
Valentine just has this knack for creating these intriguing scenarios that leave you wondering what's really going on. He doesn't spell everything out for the reader.
Right.
He gives you just enough information to spark your imagination and let the unease just simmer.
I love that.
Yeah. Another recurring theme in his work is this image of these old, slightly unsettling bookshops. They appear again and again, almost like characters themselves. There's one story where the narrator, he finds himself in this dimly lit bookshop. The owner's nowhere to be found, and the shelves are filled with these strange volumes about brazen serpents. He spots a pamphlet that doesn't have a price, so he scribbles a note saying that he'll pay what is due. But as he's leaving, the lights go out. He bumps his head, and in that moment of darkness, he thinks he sees the serpent carved on the collection box move.
Whoa, that's so creepy.
I know. Valentine leaves you wondering, was it real or was it just a trick of the light?
Right.
That ambiguity is what makes his stories so effective. It's that lingering sense of unease, that feeling that something isn't quite right that stays with you long after you've closed the book.
I think that's what makes a truly great spooky story. That ability to tap into our primal fears and anxieties, the things that lurk at the edge of our perception.
It's that exploration of the unknown, those shadows that just dance beyond our understanding. They remind us that there are still mysteries out there, things we may never fully comprehend.
And that can be both unsettling and exhilarating at the same time.
It's like that feeling you get when you're, like walking alone in the woods at twilight and you hear a rustle in the leaves. Your heart just skips a beat. Your senses sharpen. You don't know what's out there, but your imagination conjures up all sorts of possibilities.
It's that interplay between the real and the imagined, the known and the unknown. That's what makes spooky tales so captivating.
And let's not forget the psychological element either. These stories often offer a glimpse into like our own inner darkness, the things we try to hide from ourselves and others.
Like the characters in doomed romances who are like consumed by their obsessive desires, or those in Macon's The Terror who are forced to confront the darkness within themselves as well as the unseen forces that surround them.
These tales, they hold a mirror up to our own vulnerabilities. They remind us that even in the most civilized of societies, there are forces, both internal and external, that can threaten our sense of order and security.
And that's perhaps what makes these spooky stories so enduring.
Yeah.
They tap into something universal, something that transcends time and culture.
The fear of the unknown, the allure of the forbidden, the darkness that resides within us all.
That's so true. These are themes that have resonated with readers for centuries and continue to fascinate us today.
That's why we gather around campfires and tell ghost stories, why we seek out haunted houses and scary movies.
Yeah.
We crave that thrill, that shiver down the spine, that reminder that there are things in this world that we can't explain.
Totally. It's a way of confronting our fears, exploring those shadows without actually having to, step into them. And in a way, it's a celebration of the power of imagination.
I think so too.
It's amazing how these stories can tap into that primal part of ourselves, that sense of wonder and dread that has been with us since, like, the dawn of humanity.
And, they can be incredibly thought-provoking too. These tales often raise questions about, like, our place in the universe, the nature of good and evil, the limits of human understanding.
Oh, absolutely. I'm thinking about like Hodgson's work, which often explores the vastness and indifference of the cosmos,
Yeah.
and how fragile human existence is in the face of those cosmic forces.
And Lovecraft, who delves into the, like, hidden depths of human consciousness, suggesting there are realms of experience beyond our comprehension, and that, like, some knowledge is best left undisturbed.
Right. It's like opening a door to a hidden room.
Yeah.
A room that's both alluring and terrifying.
Yeah.
And sometimes the greatest terror
Yeah.
is the realization that we're the ones who have opened that door.
Yeah, it really is like this unsettling feeling, like you don't know what's beyond the threshold, but you're still drawn to it. Kind of like how we're drawn to these spooky tales.
Exactly. It just shows you their enduring power.
Yeah.
Like they invite us to just explore the darker corners of our imagination, to confront the mysteries that are just beyond our grasp. As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of spooky tales, I'm curious, what stood out to you the most? Was there a particular author or a story or even like a theme that really resonated with you?
Oh, it's hard to choose just one. But I think what consistently strikes me is the power of atmosphere, whether it's, Jacoby's fetid marshland or Hodgson's eerie island shrouded in fungus, or even Valentine's, like, dimly lit bookshop filled with all those unsettling volumes. Like, it's the setting that often leaves the most lasting impression.
Oh, I completely agree. The setting, it really becomes a character itself. It shapes the mood and amplifies that sense of dread. It's like you're being transported to another world, a world where the ordinary rules no longer apply.
And where anything is possible, both wonderful and terrible.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes these stories so captivating, that, like, sense of possibility, that tingling anticipation of the unknown.
Absolutely. It's that feeling of stepping into the shadows, not knowing what you might find, but being drawn to the mystery nonetheless. So, as you delve into these stories this Halloween season, pay attention to those details, the subtle nuances that create that atmosphere of unease.
Let your imagination run wild, embrace the chills, and most importantly, enjoy the ride.
You never know. You might just discover your next favorite author or even unearth a hidden gem that speaks to your deepest fears and fascinations.
After all, the most unsettling stories are often the ones that stay with us long after we've turned that last page. They linger in our minds, whispering their secrets, and they just leave us with that lingering question. What if?
What if? Happy Halloween, everyone.
And that's our summary for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to grab your free copy of the audiobook using the link in the description below. See you next time.